I never imagined my life would split into a before and an after. But if I had to pinpoint the exact day it happened, it would be the day of my father's wedding. A day that should have been filled with happiness, celebration, and love. Yet it became the stage for the cruelest humiliation I've ever faced. The morning started like a dream. The sky was painted a perfect blue, the kind you'd think only existed in movies. I stood in front of the mirror in my small bedroom, smoothing the wrinkles out of my only decent dress. It wasn't new. It had been my mom's once before she passed away. But I had ironed it the night before until every crease surrendered. I wanted to look presentable. Not for me, but for Dad. He was starting a new chapter in his life. And though it stung that he had moved on so quickly after Mom, I told myself that all I wanted was to see him happy. My stomach fluttered nervously. Today wasn't just about Dad getting married. It was about me stepping into an entirely new family dynamic. His new wife, Clara, was someone I barely knew. She had a teenage daughter, a girl named Amelia, who would soon become my stepsister. I didn't know what to expect from her. A friend? A rival? A stranger who just happened to share the same roof? When Dad came to pick me up, he looked happier than I had seen him in years. His smile was broad, his eyes crinkled with excitement. For a moment I felt proud. Proud to be his daughter. Proud to be part of this big day. "Ready, sweetheart?" he asked, adjusting his tie in the rearview mirror. "As ready as I'll ever be," I whispered, more to myself than to him. The wedding venue was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, flowers draped every corner, and guests in glamorous outfits filled the hall. I suddenly felt small in my old faded dress. I told myself no one would notice, but I was wrong, because she noticed. Amelia. The moment she walked in, it was as though the whole room shifted. Her dress shimmered like liquid silver under the lights, her makeup flawless, her hair styled to perfection. She looked like the kind of girl who belonged in magazines, not in real life. And then her eyes landed on me. For a brief second, her lips curved into a smile. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could get along. But then she tilted her head, looked me up and down, and let out a laugh so sharp it sliced through me. "Oh my God," she said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "You're wearing that?" My cheeks burned as people glanced my way. I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came out. Dad didn't notice. He was too busy greeting relatives and smiling for photographs. Clara, radiant in her wedding gown, gave me a polite nod before turning her full attention to her new husband. I was invisible. The ceremony began, vows exchanged, rings slipped onto fingers. Everyone clapped and cheered, but I barely heard any of it. My heart was pounding, my mind stuck on Amelia's cruel laughter. Then came the reception, the part that would mark me forever. I was sitting quietly at a corner table when Amelia and her friends approached. They looked like a scene out of a high school drama. Perfect makeup, expensive dresses, and eyes glinting with mischief. "Hey," Amelia said sweetly, her voice dripping with mock kindness. "We were just talking, and we think you need a makeover." Before I could react, two of her friends grabbed me by the arms. I struggled, but their grip was tight. The music was loud, the crowd distracted. No one noticed. Amelia pulled a pair of scissors from her clutch. "Don't worry," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'll make you beautiful." And with one swift motion, she cut off a lock of my hair. The world froze. I gasped, my hand flying to my head. My hair, Mom's hair, gone in a heartbeat. It wasn't just hair. It was the last part of her I carried with me, the part she used to braid and kiss goodnight. Tears blurred my vision as laughter erupted around me. Amelia held up the strand like a trophy, showing it off to her friends. "See? Now you look edgy," she sneered. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. The humiliation was unbearable, but worse than that was the silence. No one stepped in. No one defended me. My father was somewhere across the hall, lost in his own happiness, while I was falling apart. I ran. I pushed past the crowd, past the music, past the endless sea of smiling faces. My legs carried me to the bathroom, where I locked myself in a stall and collapsed to the floor. The tears came like a flood, hot and uncontrollable. I clutched the chopped strands of hair in my hand and whispered, "Mom, I'm sorry." I couldn't protect it. I couldn't protect myself. For a long time, I stayed there, hidden from the world. When I finally looked up into the mirror, I saw someone I barely recognized. Someone broken, humiliated, and invisible. But deep inside, something else stirred. Anger. Not the kind that makes you yell or scream, but the kind that sits quietly in your chest, heavy and unyielding. The kind that whispers, "This isn't over," because Amelia thought she had won that night. She thought she had reduced me to nothing more than a joke, but she didn't know the truth that would shatter her world. And this? This was only the beginning. When I finally left the bathroom, the reception was in full swing. Laughter, music, clinking glasses, life carried on as though my humiliation had been nothing more than background noise. I walked back into that glittering hall with my shoulders stiff, clutching the uneven strands of my freshly butchered hair like invisible scars. No one noticed me. Or maybe they chose not to. Dad was on the dance floor with Clara, spinning her around while everyone cheered. His smile stretched wide, his eyes soft with love. For a brief moment, I almost wanted to walk up to him, to tug at his sleeve like I used to when I was little and whisper, "Dad, she hurt me. Please, make it stop." But the words died in my throat. He deserved happiness. That's what I told myself. If I interrupted, if I complained, if I caused a scene, I would be the selfish daughter who ruined his wedding. So I stayed silent. Across the room, Amelia was surrounded by her friends. She twirled the scissors in her hand like some sort of victory prize. Every now and then, her eyes flickered toward me, a smirk tugging at her lips. It was a look that said, "You're nothing. You'll always be nothing." I forced myself to sit at the corner table again, my back straight, my face blank. But inside, I was crumbling. As the night dragged on, my father and his new wife disappeared into a world of congratulatory toasts and endless photographs. Guests left one by one until the hall slowly emptied. My ride home? Forgotten. Dad was too busy with Clara, and Amelia? She knew exactly what she was doing when she brushed past me with a fake smile, slipping her manicured hand into her mother's arm. "You'll figure it out," she whispered coldly. And just like that, they were gone. I ended up walking home. The night air was cool, but my skin burned with shame. Every step echoed with Amelia's laughter. Every shadow reminded me of the scissors slicing through my hair. When I finally collapsed into bed, I thought I'd cry myself to sleep. But I didn't. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, a dull ache sitting heavy in my chest. My mind replayed the moment over and over, the sound of the scissors, the gasps, the laughter. And then something shifted inside me. That quiet anger I'd felt in the bathroom grew roots. I whispered to myself in the dark, "One day, she'll regret this. One day, Amelia will learn she can't destroy me without consequences." The days after the wedding were strange. Dad and Clara moved into a bigger house, a place that felt more like a museum than a home. Marble floors, grand staircases, walls lined with portraits. And within that mansion, Amelia reigned like a queen. Everywhere I turned, her presence was there. Her laughter ringing down the halls, her perfume clinging to the air, her polished footsteps echoing on the marble, and every glance she threw my way carried the same message: "You don't belong here." At first, I avoided her. I slipped through hallways like a ghost, ate meals quietly at the far end of the table, and retreated to my small, plain bedroom as soon as I could. But Amelia didn't let silence protect me. "Ah, did you run out of shampoo?" she mocked one morning, flicking at my uneven hair. "Or are you starting a new, homeless chic style?" Her friends giggled. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. On another day, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You know, Dad's only nice to you because he feels guilty. If Mom hadn't died, he would have left you too." Think about it. The words hit harder than the scissors ever could. I wanted to scream, to tell her to shut up, to shove her out of the way. But I didn't. Instead, I turned away and clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. Because here's the truth I hadn't told anyone, not even Dad. Amelia wasn't just cruel. She wasn't just mean. She was hiding something. I had overheard her once, weeks before the wedding, when Dad had left me at Clara's house for dinner. I was walking down the hallway when I caught Amelia on the phone. "No, don't call me again," she hissed. "If my mom finds out, it's over. Do you understand? We cannot let this get out." Her voice was sharp, panicked, and then softer. "I'll make sure she never opens her mouth. Trust me." She didn't notice me listening, and I never told anyone what I'd heard. But it stuck with me. Her cruelty wasn't just about power. It was about control. She needed to make sure no one ever got close enough to see through her perfect facade. And that night at the wedding, cutting my hair, it wasn't just about humiliating me. It was about silencing me. 1 week later, everything exploded. It started small. Dad invited Clara's family over for dinner. Everyone was laughing, the table full of food. For once, I thought maybe things would be normal. But then Amelia leaned across the table, her smile sugary sweet. "Hey, Dad," she said casually, twirling her fork. "Do you know where your daughter was during the reception?" My heart froze. She was hiding in the bathroom, crying. Amelia's voice dripped with false concern. "I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, isn't it? To fall apart like that at your wedding?" The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Heat flooded my face, shame boiling in my veins. I wanted to sink into the floor, but this time, something snapped. I put my fork down and lifted my chin. My voice trembled, but I forced the words out. "Yes, I was crying," I said, "because your daughter cut my hair in front of everyone and laughed about it." The words hung heavy in the air. Clara's smile faltered. Dad's brow furrowed. For a moment, Amelia's mask cracked, her eyes narrowing just slightly before she forced out a laugh. "Oh, come on," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "It was just a joke." "She's exaggerating." But I didn't stop. "It wasn't a joke," I said, louder this time. "You humiliated me. And one day, everyone here will see you for what you really are." The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time, Amelia's smirk slipped. Just for a second. But I saw it, the flicker of fear. And I knew then. I wasn't powerless. This was only the beginning. The dinner ended in suffocating silence. Forks clinked against plates in awkward rhythm, and every laugh sounded forced. Dad kept glancing between me and Amelia, his brow furrowed as though he was trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't fit. Clara tried to smooth things over with small talk, but the tension sat heavy, like a storm cloud over the table. I kept my eyes on my plate, my heart thudding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I'd spoken up. For the first time, I hadn't let Amelia's cruelty go unchallenged. But as the night wore on, I felt the weight of her gaze on me, sharp, piercing, like a blade pressed against my skin. Amelia's smirk was gone, replaced by something darker. A promise. And deep down, I knew she wasn't going to let this go. The next morning, the storm hit. I woke up to Clara's voice calling from downstairs. "Sweetheart, can you come here for a moment?" I dragged myself out of bed, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. When I stepped into the living room, my stomach dropped. Dad was sitting on the couch, his face pale. Beside him, Clara looked uneasy. And standing in the corner, her arms crossed, was Amelia, with a smile that could freeze fire. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice small. Dad cleared his throat. "Your stepsister told us something." Disturbing, I felt my blood run cold. "What?" Amelia stepped forward, her eyes glinting. "I didn't want to say anything, but—" She paused, feigning hesitation. "I think she might have—" "A problem," Clara's brow furrowed. "A problem?" Amelia nodded, her expression painted with fake concern. "I caught her sneaking money from Mom's purse last night." My mouth fell open. "What? That's a lie!" But Amelia wasn't finished. She clasped her hands together, her voice trembling as though she was holding back tears. I didn't want to believe it, but she's been acting strange for a while. Crying, lashing out, making things up about me. I think she's jealous, and now she's stealing too. I don't know what to do, Clara gasped softly, covering her mouth. Dad's eyes turned to me, searching, confused. The room spun around me. I wanted to scream, to shout the truth, but Amelia's act was flawless. Her trembling lip, her soft sniffles, it was a performance, and everyone was buying it. Dad, I swear. My voice cracked. I didn't take anything. She's lying. But Amelia had planted the seed. Doubt flickered in Dad's eyes, and that hurt worse than any insult. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding, Clara said gently, though her gaze lingered on her daughter with subtle protectiveness. Let's not jump to conclusions. But Amelia smirked when no one else was looking. She had won the round. The days that followed were unbearable. Whispers trailed me everywhere. Clara started locking her purse in her room. Dad seemed distant, distracted, as though a shadow of doubt lingered whenever he looked at me. And Amelia? She thrived. Every opportunity she got, she twisted the knife deeper. If something went missing, even something small like a pen or a hair clip, she'd casually mention that she'd seen me near it. If I came down late for breakfast, she'd sigh dramatically and say, "Rough night?" Loud enough for everyone to hear. Her friends joined in too, snickering whenever I walked past, whispering words like thief and psycho. It was suffocating. But beneath the humiliation, beneath the anger, I held on to one thing, the memory of what I'd overheard weeks ago. Amelia's phone call. Her panicked voice. We cannot let this get out. Whatever she was hiding, it was big enough to terrify her. And that meant I wasn't as powerless as she thought. One evening, I found myself wandering the halls of the mansion, the silence pressing down on me. My footsteps echoed against the marble, leading me toward Amelia's room. Her door was ajar. I hesitated, my heart pounding. Curiosity and fear battled inside me. But then I heard it, the sound of her voice, low and urgent. She was on the phone again. "I told you not to call me," she hissed. "If anyone finds out, I'm finished. Do you get that? Finished. My mom would disown me. My stepdad would hate me. Everything I've built would be gone." I froze, my breath caught in my throat. Her voice trembled now, the polished, perfect Amelia crumbling behind closed doors. "No, I can't meet you, not yet. Just wait, I'll figure something out, but you can't show up here. If she finds out..." She stopped abruptly as though sensing something. My heart leapt into my throat. I slipped back into the shadows just as her footsteps approached the door. The door creaked open, and Amelia stepped out, her eyes scanning the hallway. For a moment, our gazes met. Her expression hardened. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "I was just..." My voice faltered. "Looking for the bathroom." She narrowed her eyes, suspicion flickering across her face. But then she forced a laugh, masking her unease. "Right, the bathroom." And then she leaned in, her voice low, sharp. "If I ever catch you snooping around my room again, you'll regret it." With that, she turned on her heel and disappeared back inside. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words replayed in my head over and over. If she finds out, who was she talking about? What secret was she hiding so desperately that she'd rather destroy me than risk exposure? I stared at the ceiling until dawn, a plan slowly forming in my mind. If Amelia thought she could bury me under lies, she was wrong. I wasn't just going to survive her torment, I was going to uncover her secret, and when I did, she would never laugh at me again. The next few days blurred together in a haze of tension. Amelia kept her promise, if you could call it that. She didn't just torment me behind closed doors anymore. She wanted to destroy me in front of everyone. At school, it started small. A whispered comment here, a staged accident there. A drink accidentally spilled onto my notebook. A cruel laugh when she pointed out my uneven haircut. Soon enough, her circle of friends joined in, like vultures circling prey. "Hey, thief!" one of them sneered as I passed in the hallway. Another chimed in, Careful, she might cut your hair next. I walked faster, clutching my books tight to my chest. Every word stung, but I kept my head down. Not because I was weak, but because I was waiting for her mask to slip. Because now I knew the truth. Amelia was hiding something. And the more vicious she became, the more I realized she was desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. One evening, Dad called me into his study. The room smelled faintly of old books and cologne, his desk cluttered with papers. He looked tired, older than I remembered, but his eyes softened when they met mine. "Sit down, sweetheart," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. My stomach twisted. Amelia's lies about me stealing still lingered in the house like smoke, choking every conversation. "I need to ask you something," he said carefully. "Did you really take money from Clara's purse?" The question broke me. I clenched my fists, fighting back tears. "Dad, no, I swear. I've never stolen anything in my life." He studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, finally, he sighed. "I believe you." Relief washed over me, but only for a second. "Still," he continued, "this tension between you and Amelia, it has to stop. For Clara's sake, for mine. She's family now, and whether you like it or not, you two need to get along." My throat tightened. He didn't understand. He couldn't. "I've tried," I whispered. "But I don't want excuses," he cut in gently. "Just, please, try harder." His words sliced through me deeper than Amelia's scissors ever had. Try harder? As if all of this was my fault? I nodded anyway, because what else could I do? But inside, something hardened. If Dad couldn't see Amelia for who she really was, then I'd show him. That night, as I was heading upstairs, I passed Amelia's room. Her door was cracked open, light spilling out into the hallway. Curiosity tugged at me again. And then I heard it, her voice, low and frantic. "No, listen to me," she hissed into her phone. "If you show up here again, I swear I'll call the police. Do you understand?" My heart skipped. There was a pause, then Amelia's voice trembled. "I told you I can't give you more money right now." My mom would notice. "Just wait, okay? I'll figure it out." Money. So that's what this was about. She wasn't just hiding a secret. She was paying someone to keep it buried. My pulse quickened. Who was she talking to? And what did they know that terrified her enough to hand over money? I leaned closer, my ear practically against the door. But then the floor creaked under my weight. The conversation cut off. The door yanked open. And there she was, Amelia, her eyes blazing, her phone still clutched in her hand. "What are you doing?" she snapped. I forced my face into a mask of innocence. "I was just walking by. Eavesdropping, more like," she spat. Her gaze was sharp, calculating, and for a second, I thought she might actually hit me. But then her lips curved into that familiar smirk. "You think you're clever, don't you?" she said softly. "Listening, snooping, trying to catch me slipping. Well, guess what? No one's ever going to believe you. Not Dad. Not Mom. Not anyone." Her words dripped with venom, but her hands trembled ever so slightly. That was when I knew. I wasn't imagining it. She was scared. 2 days later, the first crack appeared. It was during lunch at school. Amelia was sitting with her usual crowd, laughing too loudly, flipping her hair like she owned the place. I was at the far end of the cafeteria, picking at my food, when I noticed a man standing outside by the chain-link fence. He was older, rough-looking, with sharp eyes that scanned the crowd. He wasn't a parent, I could tell instantly. He didn't belong there, but what made my stomach twist was the way his gaze locked onto Amelia. She noticed him, too. The moment their eyes met, her face drained of color. Her fork clattered against her tray, her laughter dying mid-sentence. She stood abruptly, muttering something to her friends before storming out of the cafeteria. I watched, heart racing as she pushed through the doors and marched straight to the fence. From my seat, I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see everything. The way she gestured angrily, the way he leaned in too close, the way her hands shook as she shoved something small into his palm. Money. When she turned to walk back inside, her face was pale. Her perfect mask cracked just slightly at the edges, and then her eyes found mine. She froze. For a heartbeat, we just stared at each other through the glass, her expression twisted. Fear, fury, panic, all flickering across her face in a single second. Then, just like that, the mask snapped back into place. She smirked at me, but it didn't reach her eyes. That night, she cornered me in the hallway. "If you ever tell anyone what you saw today," she hissed, her breath hot against my ear, "I will ruin you. Do you understand? Whatever little dignity you have left, I'll destroy it." I stared back at her, my fear warring with the fire burning in my chest. "You're already ruining me," I whispered. "So what's left to lose?" For the first time, Amelia didn't have a quick comeback. She just glared at me, her jaw tight before storming off. And in that moment, I knew the perfect, untouchable Amelia was cracking. All I had to do was keep pushing, because one day soon, her secret would explode, and when it did, she wouldn't be the one laughing anymore. The next week was hell. If Amelia had been cruel before, now she was merciless. Every smirk, every whispered rumor, every calculated move, it was all sharpened to a blade, and she wielded it with precision. At school, my locker was stuffed with crumpled notes that said things like thief and liar. My books went missing only to reappear in the trash. Teachers began giving me strange looks, clearly influenced by some whispered story Amelia had spread. But she didn't stop there. At home, she turned Clara's patience into a weapon, dropping subtle comments that always made me look guilty. "She's been sneaking out late at night," I overheard her telling Clara one evening as they cooked dinner. "That's not true," I protested, storming into the kitchen, but Clara's brows furrowed, doubt flickering in her eyes. "Sweetheart." "Is it?" "No," I snapped, but it didn't matter. Amelia had already planted the seed. She was winning, or at least, she thought she was, because no matter how much she tightened the noose, I had something she didn't. I had seen her break. That memory of the man at the fence haunted me. His sharp eyes, her trembling hands, the way she shoved money into his palm, it played in my mind like a loop. But I needed proof, something undeniable. Something I could hold in my hands and say, "Here, look, she's not who you think she is." And then, one rainy afternoon, it came to me. I was in the laundry room, folding clothes, when Amelia stormed in. Her mascara was smudged, her eyes red, though she quickly masked it with her usual smirk when she saw me. "Still playing housemaid?" she taunted, tossing her damp sweater into the basket. I bit my tongue, refusing to give her the reaction she wanted. She rolled her eyes and flounced out. But as I shook out her sweater, something slipped from the pocket, a folded piece of paper. At first, I thought it was just a receipt. But when I opened it, my breath caught. It was an IOU. Scrawled in rushed handwriting were the words, $500, next week, or I tell them everything. You know I'm not bluffing. Or my hands trembled. $500. A threat. And that last line. You know I'm not bluffing. Whoever R was, they knew Amelia's secret, and they had no problem using it against her. I stuffed the paper back into the sweater just as footsteps approached. Amelia reappeared in the doorway, her eyes narrowing when she saw me still holding her laundry. "What's taking you so long?" she asked, suspicion dripping from her voice. "Nothing," I said quickly, forcing my expression into something neutral. "Just finishing up." Her gaze lingered on me for a beat too long before she snatched the sweater from my hands and walked away. My heart pounded. Had she noticed? Did she know I'd seen it? If she did, she didn't say a word. But that night I hid in my room with my thoughts racing. I couldn't confront her yet, not without more. But now I knew for sure, she wasn't just cruel, she was trapped. Someone out there had the power to ruin her, and maybe, just maybe, that someone could help me. The next day, Amelia upped her game. She cornered me in the hallway at school, shoving me against the lockers. "Listen," she hissed, her face inches from mine. "I don't know what game you're playing, but if you so much as breathe wrong around me, you're done. Got it?" Her grip on my arm tightened painfully. I looked straight into her eyes and whispered, "You mean like the man at the fence?" For the first time, her mask shattered completely. Her eyes widened, her lips parting in shock. Fear flickered across her face before anger snapped back into place. "You don't know what you're talking about," she spat, releasing me so suddenly I nearly stumbled. But I did. And she knew it. That evening, as I was leaving school, I spotted him, the man from the fence. He was leaning against a beat-up car across the street, a cigarette dangling from his lips. His eyes scanned the crowd, and when they landed on me, he smirked. I froze. "Hey, kid," he called out, flicking his cigarette to the ground. "You Amelia's little sister?" My throat went dry. I should have walked away. I should have ignored him, but curiosity burned hotter than fear. "Yes," I said cautiously. He chuckled, shaking his head. "Figures. You don't look like her." Too honest in the eyes. I frowned. "What do you want with Amelia?" His grin widened, but it was sharp, cruel. "That's between me and her. But let's just say she owes me. And when people owe me, they pay." I clenched my fists. "What if she doesn't?" His gaze darkened. "Then I make her life very, very uncomfortable. And maybe the people around her, too." A shiver ran down my spine. Before I could ask more, Amelia's voice cut through the air. "What are you doing?" she shouted, storming across the street. Her face was pale, her eyes wild. She grabbed my wrist, yanking me back. "Stay away from her," she barked at the man. He just laughed. "Relax, princess. We were just talking." But the way his gaze lingered on me sent chills down my spine. Amelia dragged me away without another word, her grip bruising. When we were finally out of sight, she spun on me, her voice shaking with fury. "Are you insane? You don't talk to him. Ever. Why not?" I shot back. "What are you so scared he'll say?" Her lips trembled, her hands balling into fists. For a second, I thought she might actually confess. Instead, she leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. "If you ever go near him again, I swear I'll make you regret it. You think you've suffered? You have no idea." And then she was gone, storming off into the night. But her words didn't scare me. They only confirmed what I already knew. Amelia's secret wasn't just real, it was dangerous. And now I had evidence. The IOU. The man. Her fear. The cracks in her perfect mask were widening, and soon they'd shatter completely. All I had to do was wait for the right moment to strike. The house felt smaller every day, like the walls were closing in on me. Every glance from Clara carried suspicion. Every word from Dad was laced with frustration. Amelia had poisoned the air, and I was choking on it. She played her part perfectly. Sweet daughter, polite stepsister, the girl who could do no wrong. In front of them, she was all smiles and soft words. But the second their backs were turned, the venom came out. It wasn't enough for her to humiliate me in private anymore. She wanted me destroyed in front of the people I loved, and she almost succeeded. It happened on a Sunday morning. Clara had invited some of her relatives over for brunch. The table was heavy with food, fresh bread, fruit, eggs, pastries. For once, the house felt alive, full of laughter and warmth. I tried to enjoy it, tried to feel like I belonged. But Amelia never let me forget my place. "Can you pass the juice, thief?" she whispered under her breath, just loud enough for me to hear. I ignored her, forcing a smile as I handed Clara's cousin the bread basket. But Amelia wasn't satisfied with whispers today. She waited until the room quieted, then stood abruptly, her expression twisted into mock horror. "Wait a second," she said, patting her pockets. "Where's my bracelet?" "It was just here." Everyone looked up. "It's gone," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with fake panic. "The one Mom gave me? It's missing!" A murmur rippled around the table. Clara frowned. "Are you sure you didn't leave it in your room, darling?" "No!" Amelia's eyes darted around before landing squarely on me. She took it. The room froze. My heart dropped. What? No. I didn't. I saw her near my dresser this morning. Amelia pressed on, her voice cracking with feigned hurt. She's been taking things for weeks, and you all just keep ignoring it. Amelia, Dad said sharply, but doubt clouded his eyes. Clara rose from her seat, her expression grim. Maybe we should check. Heat burned in my chest. Rage, humiliation, fear, all tangled into a knot I could barely breathe around. Fine. I snapped, standing. Check my room. Check everything. You won't find anything because I didn't do it. We all moved upstairs, the family trailing behind like a silent jury. Clara opened my drawers, my closet, even the box under my bed. And then, there! Amelia shouted, pointing. Clara pulled a small velvet box from behind my books. Inside, nestled in satin, was Amelia's bracelet. Gasps filled the room. No, I whispered, shaking my head. That's not, she planted it. Enough, Dad said, his voice low, disappointed. I don't know what's gotten into you, but this has to stop. Tears blurred my vision. You believe her? After everything? Clara crossed her arms, her face tight. Sweetheart, we've given you the benefit of the doubt again and again. But this, she shook her head. This can't be ignored. Amelia stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, a victorious smirk tugging at her lips. She'd won. At least, that's what she thought. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my heart aching from the weight of betrayal. But then I remembered the note, the IOU in Amelia's sweater. If she was willing to plant evidence to frame me, maybe she'd slipped up this time. So while the house slept, I crept into the hallway. My footsteps were silent, my breath shallow as I moved toward Amelia's room. Her door was closed, the faint sound of music drifting out. I pressed my ear against the wood, and then I heard it. Her voice. I told you I did what you asked. She hissed into her phone. I planted the bracelet, okay? They all hate her now. Just leave me alone for a while. My blood ran cold. She admitted it. I wanted to burst in, to scream, to shove the words down her throat. But instead, I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling, and hit record. Her voice filled the speaker, every word dripping with venom and desperation. I'll get you the money soon, just stop calling me during the day. If Mom or Dad find out, I'm screwed. It was the evidence I needed, but before I could slip away, the door swung open. Amelia stood there, her eyes wide when she saw me. For a second, we just stared at each other. Then her gaze dropped to my phone, her face twisted with rage. You little snake, she spat, lunging at me. We crashed into the wall, her nails clawing at my arm as I tried to keep my phone out of her reach. Delete it, she screamed. Delete it! But I held on, my heart pounding, adrenaline surging through me. For the first time, she wasn't in control. She was scared, and that fear was my weapon. Her nails tore into my wrist as she fought for my phone, her face twisted with desperation. For the first time, Amelia wasn't calm, wasn't smug, wasn't in control. She was wild. Delete it. She screamed again, her voice cracking. No, I shouted back, clutching the phone to my chest. Everyone will finally see the truth. Her eyes blazed. Over my dead body. The words sent a shiver through me, not because I thought she meant them figuratively, but because, in that moment, I wasn't sure she wouldn't actually try. I shoved past her, sprinting down the hall. She chased me, her footsteps pounding against the hardwood floor. My chest heaved as I darted into my room and slammed the door shut, locking it just in time. Her fists pounded against the wood. You think that recording will save you? She shrieked. You're nothing! Nobody's going to believe you, even with proof. But the tremor in her voice betrayed her. She was terrified, and for the first time, I had power. The next morning, she was back to her polished mask, smiling sweetly at Clara, helping Dad with his tie, pretending like nothing had happened. But every time her eyes flicked toward me, I saw the storm brewing beneath the surface. She wasn't done, and I was right. That afternoon, while I was walking home from school, I noticed a familiar car parked at the curb. The beat-up one. The one belonging to the man Amelia owed money to. He leaned against it, smoking lazily, his eyes following me. "Hey, kid," he called out, flicking his cigarette. "Got a minute?" Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my feet froze. "What do you want?" I asked cautiously. He smirked. "Relax, I'm not here to hurt you. Unless..." His eyes narrowed. "Unless you make things difficult." My throat went dry. "Amelia owes you money," he chuckled. "So she told you, huh? Figures. She can't keep her mouth shut when she's panicking. But let me tell you something. If she doesn't pay soon, I'll collect in other ways." The way his gaze lingered on me made my stomach twist. I backed away. "Stay away from me," he laughed, low and dark. "Tell your stepsister that. I didn't wait for more." I ran all the way home, my heart pounding like a war drum. That night, I confronted Amelia. "You sent him after me," I accused, slamming my door shut behind me. She looked up from her vanity, feigning innocence. "What are you talking about?" "The man. He was waiting for me after school. He said if you don't pay, he'll come after me." Her expression faltered, just for a second, before she sneered. "Maybe he's right. Maybe if you're scared enough, you'll finally learn your place." My hands shook with rage. "You're sick. You'd let him hurt me just to keep your secret." She stood, her face inches from mine, her voice low and venomous. "I'd do worse." My blood ran cold. The following days were torture. I couldn't walk home without glancing over my shoulder. Couldn't sleep without replaying Amelia's words. But then, an opportunity came. It was Thursday evening. Dad had gone out late for a work dinner. Clara was at a book club, and Amelia was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone. I crept downstairs, my phone in hand, the recording tucked safely away in a hidden folder. My plan was simple: email the file to myself, to Dad, to Clara. If Amelia destroyed my phone, I'd still have the evidence. But as I plugged it into the computer, a voice behind me made my heart drop. "What are you doing?" I spun around. Amelia stood at the bottom of the stairs, her eyes glinting in the dim light. I tried to stay calm. "Homework," she smirked. "Funny. Homework doesn't usually involve looking like a criminal caught in the act." She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "You're planning something, aren't you? Maybe sending that recording to Daddy?" I swallowed hard, saying nothing. Her smirk widened. "Pathetic. You really think one little recording will undo me? You think anyone would believe you over me?" She leaned closer, her breath hot against my ear. "Maybe I should just make sure you can't send it." Before I could react, she yanked the laptop cord from the wall. Sparks flickered. The screen went black. "No!" I shouted, lunging forward. But she shoved me back, the laptop slipping from my hands and crashing onto the floor. "Oops," she said sweetly, her eyes cold. My chest heaved. "You're insane." She tilted her head. "Maybe, but I always win." That night, I locked my door, clutching my phone like it was a lifeline. But sleep didn't come. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every shadow looked like danger. And then, just past midnight, I heard it, the sound of my doorknob turning, slow, quiet. I froze. The lock rattled, then clicked. She was inside. Amelia slipped into my room like a phantom, her silhouette outlined in the moonlight. She held something in her hand, gleaming silver, scissors, the same ones she'd used to cut my hair that night. She crept closer, her footsteps soft against the carpet. "You should have deleted it when I told you," she whispered. I bolted upright, my pulse thundering. "Stay away from me!" Her smile widened. "Make me!" The scissors glinted as she raised them, and I realized this wasn't about humiliation anymore. Amelia was willing to go further, much further. The moonlight glinted off the scissors in Amelia's hand, the sharp edges catching the pale glow. My chest rose and fell in rapid bursts as I backed against the wall, clutching my blanket like it could protect me. "You're insane," I whispered, my throat tight. Her lips curved into that awful smirk. No, I'm desperate. The way she said it, quiet, trembling under the bravado, sent chills crawling up my spine. For once, Amelia wasn't just playing a role. She meant it. She lunged forward. I screamed, grabbing the nearest thing within reach, my lamp, and swung. It crashed into her shoulder, the bulb shattering in a burst of sparks. She stumbled, hissing in pain, but her grip on the scissors didn't falter. "Put it down," I shouted, my voice breaking. "Not until you delete that recording," she spat, her eyes wild. "You don't get it. If they find out, everything's over for me." "Everything!" Her words tumbled out in a frenzy, raw and panicked. She wasn't Amelia the perfect anymore. She was Amelia the cornered, but I refused to cower. "You brought this on yourself," I cried. "You've been tormenting me, lying, framing me, just to cover up your own mess." "Why? What are you so scared of, Amelia?" For a moment, her mask slipped completely. Her lip trembled, her hand shaking around the scissors. "I can't," she began, her voice breaking. "If they knew, if Mom knew—" Her words cut off as the door burst open. "What is going on here?" Dad's voice thundered through the room. He stood in the doorway, his face pale with shock as his eyes darted between me, clutching my blanket, trembling, and Amelia frozen with the scissors still in her hand. "Dad." I gasped, relief flooding me. She tried to, but Amelia was faster. "She's lying." Amelia shrieked, dropping the scissors to the floor. "I was just trying to protect myself. She attacked me with the lamp." I stared at her, my heart sinking. "That's not true!" Dad's face twisted in confusion, his gaze bouncing between us. He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Clara appeared behind him, her eyes wide with horror. "What on earth is happening here?" Clara whispered, stepping into the room. Amelia's tears came instantly, rolling down her cheeks as she clutched her shoulder dramatically. "She's been threatening me, Mom. I didn't know what else to do. I thought she was going to hurt me. No!" My voice cracked as I turned to Dad. "She's lying. Look at the scissors. Look at what she was about to." But Clara was already pulling Amelia into her arms, stroking her hair like she was the victim. "It's okay, darling. You're safe now," Clara murmured, glaring at me over Amelia's head. The weight of injustice crashed down on me, crushing my chest. No matter what I did, Amelia twisted everything, turned everyone against me. But this time I had more than just my word. My hand closed around my phone hidden under the blanket. The recording, the proof. Not tonight, not yet. But soon, the following day was unbearable. Dad avoided my eyes at breakfast, his jaw tight as he read the paper. Clara fussed over Amelia's injury, placing an ice pack on her shoulder as if she'd been stabbed. And me? I sat in silence, rage and helplessness boiling under my skin. Every time Amelia glanced at me, her smirk returned. A silent message, "You'll never win." But she was wrong, because later that night, fate handed me something she didn't expect. I was in the backyard, sitting on the old swing, when I heard voices drifting through the open kitchen window. Clara had gone upstairs and Dad was out late again. That left only Amelia and the man. His voice was low, rough, unmistakable. "You're late," he growled. "I told you, I'm trying," Amelia hissed back. "I don't have the money yet. If my mom notices—" "I don't care about your mom," he snapped. "You have 1 week. 1. Or I'll tell them everything. I'll tell your precious family who you really are." My pulse quickened. "Please." Amelia's voice cracked, trembling with fear. "If Clara finds out, she'll never forgive me." He laughed, cruel and sharp. "That's your problem, princess. Pay up, or watch your perfect little world burn." The back door creaked as he left, his footsteps fading into the night. And then silence. I sat frozen on the swing, my heart hammering. She'd admitted it. Clara was at the center of it all. Whatever Amelia was hiding, it wasn't just a secret. It was something that could shatter her relationship with her mother. I gripped the chains of the swing so hard my knuckles turned white. This was it. The proof I needed wasn't just on my phone, it was in Amelia's own words. And sooner or later, I would force her to confess, but as I crept back inside, Amelia was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Her eyes glowed in the dim light, her lips curling into a cold smile. "Enjoy your little eavesdropping session?" she asked softly. My blood ran cold. She knew. And from the look on her face, she wasn't just going to sit back and wait this time. She was planning something worse. Her smile stayed with me all night. That cold, twisted smirk as she caught me listening. It haunted me long after I locked my bedroom door, long after the house went silent. I knew Amelia wouldn't forgive what I'd heard. The question was, how would she strike back? The answer came the very next morning. Dad stormed into my room before breakfast, his face thunderous. In his hand was my phone. "Where did you get this?" His voice shook with fury. My stomach dropped. "The phone, the recording, My throat closed. "It's mine, Dad. Please, let me He shoved the screen in my face. The video played, except it wasn't my recording. It was doctored. The footage showed me clear as day, standing over Amelia, shouting, waving the broken lamp like a weapon. The audio was clipped, twisted, my words edited into threats. "I'll ruin you, Amelia. I'll make them all hate you." It wasn't real. It wasn't me. But it was convincing. "That's not true," I cried, grabbing for the phone. "She edited it. She's framing me, Dad. You have to believe me." His jaw tightened, disappointment hardening into something worse. "I don't know what's happened to you. I don't even recognize you anymore." He walked out before I could stop him, and just like that, Amelia had won another round. Clara banned me from family meals that day. She whispered to Amelia in hushed tones, fussed over her, brought her tea as if she were the victim. I stayed in my room, the walls pressing in tighter with every hour. The humiliation burned worse than anger. My father believed her lies. Clara saw me as a monster, and Amelia, she relished every second. By evening, she waltzed into my room uninvited, twirling my phone in her hand. "Nice recording," she purred. "Too bad you didn't back it up anywhere. You really should have been more careful." I stared at her, hatred pulsing in my veins. "Why are you doing this? What are you so afraid of?" For the first time, her smirk faltered, but she recovered fast. "Afraid of you? Don't flatter yourself. You're just collateral damage." She leaned closer, lowering her voice until her breath brushed my ear. "But if you ever cross me again, I'll make sure you lose everything. Your dad, your future, even your freedom. Imagine explaining attempted assault to the police, huh?" I froze, my stomach twisting into knots. She wasn't bluffing. Then she pulled back, smiling sweetly. "Sleep well, stepsis." I didn't sleep. Not a second. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Every time I thought I'd hit rock bottom, Amelia found a way to dig the pit deeper. But now, I had something she didn't know. Her meeting with that man. Her desperate plea not to let Clara find out. That was my last weapon. My only card left to play. I had to expose her before she destroyed me completely. The chance came sooner than I expected. 2 nights later, Clara hosted a dinner party. Important guests, business associates, people whose approval meant the world to her. Amelia was the perfect daughter. Hair glossy, dress immaculate, smile dazzling. I sat quietly at the end of the table, ignored like a stain on the tablecloth. But then, my moment arrived. Clara excused herself to take a phone call. Amelia slipped into the kitchen, and I followed. I found her by the sink, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice low and panicked. "I told you, I'll get the money. Just give me time," she hissed. I hit record, her head snapped up. Our eyes met, and in that instant, she knew. The phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. Her face went pale, then twisted with rage. "You stupid little—" She lunged at me. But I darted back into the dining room, the recording still running. Gasps erupted as the guests turned to see Amelia chasing me. Her mask shattering in front of everyone. "Give it to me!" she screamed, her voice cracking. I held up my phone, shaking but determined. "Ask her. Ask Amelia who she's paying off behind your back. Ask her what she doesn't want you to know, Clara." The room fell silent. Clara froze in the doorway, her eyes wide. "Amelia, what is she talking about?" Amelia's lips trembled. For the first time, she had no words, and in that silence, hope sparked inside me. But before anyone could speak, before the truth could fully unravel, Amelia did the unthinkable. She grabbed a wineglass from the table and smashed it against the wall. Shards rained across the floor as she clutched one sharp piece, pressing it against her palm. Tears streamed down her face as she turned to Clara, her voice breaking. "She attacked me again! I can't live like this, Mom, I can't," she sobbed, pressing the shard harder against her skin until a bead of blood appeared. Gasps echoed around the room, and once again, the narrative twisted. "Enough!" Clara's voice shook as she rushed to Amelia's side. "This ends tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to the police." My blood turned to ice. No, this couldn't be happening. "Mom, please," I begged, though she wasn't my mom. "She's lying. Don't you see? She's framing me." But Clara didn't even look at me, and Amelia, clinging to her with trembling hands, shot me one last glance. A glance filled with triumph. The next morning, the house felt like a battlefield. Every glance, every footstep was heavy with tension. I could hear Clara and Amelia in the kitchen, whispering, plotting, deciding what story would survive today. And me? I had nothing. No allies, no proof. Just the lingering fear that my family might believe her lies and erase me from their lives forever. But then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "I have the full recordings you need. Meet me at the old storage unit." Alone? My pulse spiked. I knew it had to be the man Amelia had been paying, the same one I'd seen her beg for discretion. I grabbed my coat and left before anyone could stop me. The storage unit smelled of rust and dust. A single fluorescent light flickered overhead. "You got the recordings?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. The man nodded. "Everything. Every conversation, every threat, every lie. Amelia's plan to ruin you. It's all here." I felt a surge of hope for the first time in days. "Thank you." "I owe you," he cut me off. "No time. Use it wisely, tonight. You need to confront her. Make them all see who she really is." I clenched the flash drive like a lifeline. Tonight. The dinner party, the confrontation. It had to happen tonight. Evening fell. The dining room was set for another dinner, but this time I was ready. I slipped in quietly, flash drive in hand, and waited for the moment Amelia would try her tricks again. It came sooner than expected. Amelia was talking, the usual rehearsed charm dripping from every word. She glanced at Clara, smiled sweetly, and, just like before, I pressed play. The speakers crackled. Amelia's voice filled the room. "Yes, I'm paying him. Make sure they never find out. If she tries to expose me, we'll ruin her first. Don't worry, everything will look like she's the aggressor." Clara's face went pale. She turned to Amelia. "Is this true?" Amelia faltered. For the first time, her poise cracked. I stepped forward, holding up the flash drive. "You've lied to everyone. You've manipulated, threatened, and even faked attacks to make me look guilty. All of it, recorded. All of it, proof." The room fell silent. Clara's eyes filled with disbelief, then hurt, then fury. "Amelia, why? Why would you do this?" Amelia opened her mouth, but no words came. The web she'd spun so carefully unraveled before my eyes. I told the truth. Every lie she'd told, every plot, every manipulation. I played the recordings, showed the doctored videos, explained her attempts to frame me. The guests, the family, they watched in stunned silence. Every shocked expression cut deeper than any of Amelia's previous attacks. And Amelia? She collapsed into a chair, face pale, hands trembling. The mask was gone, replaced by raw fear. I didn't mean, she whispered, voice breaking. "You didn't care what you did," I said, voice steady now, no trembling, no fear. "You only cared about control, about destroying me." Clara shook her head slowly. I didn't see it. "I'm sorry." Her apology stung, but it also healed a little. Justice didn't feel like revenge. It felt like truth finally finding its way home. Amelia's downfall was complete. Clara called the authorities. The recording sealed her fate. She was forced to face consequences for her manipulation, her lies, and her threats. I finally breathed. The weight on my chest lifted, and as I stood there, the room finally quiet, I realized something important. I had survived. Not because of luck, not because I was stronger, but because I refused to let someone else write my story for me. Sometimes the darkest battles are the ones you fight to prove your own truth, and I had won mine.